53% of American millionaires are saying that they want to move abroad and live in other countries. And here's the interesting part. It has nothing to do with who was elected president. They were going to do it regardless of how the election in the United States turned out. And in this video, we're going to be talking about why this phenomenon is happening. Hi, welcome to Entrepreneur Expat. My name is Amanda Abega, and together with my husband, Justin, we help you move abroad. We help you relocate to countries where there's a lot more opportunity, like Mexico, and we also teach you how to run online businesses. So if that's something that you're interested in, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single video that we have coming out on this channel. And if you're interested in relocating to Mexico specifically, we can totally help you do that. Just book a Move to Mexico consult below. We will use that call to kind of get clear on what your specific situation is and what your specific needs are. We'll come up with a game plan based on what we hear on that call. And then from there, we can either help you execute that game plan ourselves, or you can take that game plan and execute it on your own time. So you can find the information for that below. Move quickly because we're getting booked very often and a lot because we get so many questions about what is going on in Mexico. Okay, so let's talk about this phenomenon with American millionaires saying that they want to leave the United States. So first, I want to say something. Being Latina, my family is from Cuba, and I grew up in Miami. So I grew up with Latin Americans from all over, right? Colombians, Venezuelans, Mexicans, Argentines, everybody, right? Cubans, of course, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, you name it, Nicaraguans, you name it, they're there. And one of the things that Latin America has already experienced, and I would say probably a lot of other countries that are perhaps older than the United States, is they have already noticed a phenomenon that happens when people with money start to leave countries. When people with money start to leave a country, you need to pay attention, because that usually means that the country is kind of on a downward spiral, and they think that they've completely lost hope in that country and they're looking for other options and plan Bs. If you look at every time there's been some like massive political shift in Latin America, and that's just the area that I know best, the first people to leave are the ones with money. So if I see this happening in the United States, then I'm like, oh, okay, ojo, as they say here in Mexico, that is something to pay attention to, because that is usually a sign that things are not going well. So let's talk about the reasons that these American millionaires are starting to cite as to why they are interested in moving abroad and leaving the United States. Number one, taxes. So a lot of American millionaires feel like they are being overtaxed. We've talked about taxes before and all the different ways in which Americans are taxed. It is pretty high for what you get, especially in the United States, because the taxes, let's say you're in California, you're paying 30-40% in taxes between the federal tax and the state tax. Like, what are you actually getting for it? Because your government didn't even have water and fire hydrants when there was a fire. Or for example, you know, we pay relatively high taxes in the United States in comparison to other countries. We still don't have any health care. When Americans need money, like, because they just lost everything in a natural disaster, there's not enough money for them. So a lot of people are seeing this, and you know, a lot of people would use the argument, like, I would have no problem paying taxes if like the taxes were actually being used for something that benefits the US tax-paying citizen. And a lot of people, millionaires and non-millionaires are alike, are starting to question and be like, what am I actually getting for what I'm paying? So that's a question that's coming up a lot. And then of course, from the economic standpoint of things, millionaires probably think and probably believe, okay, well, if I was paying less in taxes, then that would free up cash flow. I could hire more people. I could invest more. I could build wealth. I could do more, but my money's all tied up in high taxes that aren't really getting me much of anything at this point. So that's point number one, is taxes. By moving abroad, a lot of these millionaires, number one, reduce their US tax bill by using things like the foreign income exclusion and other ways that they can do business deductions, especially if they run online businesses or the digital nomads. It's much easier to do that when you move abroad. And in addition to that, they could take advantage of tax treaties with other countries or tax situations in other countries. So for example, Dominican Republic is coming up a lot for expats because Dominican Republic is a bit of a sweet tax deal because there is no double taxation due to a treaty between the U.S. and Dominican Republic. Mexico also has a treaty that is similar to that. And in addition to that, if you make your money outside of Mexico, it is not subject to Mexican tax. So if you start seeing how all these things move together, suddenly you have freed up a whole lot of cash flow for your business or for wealth building. So that's number one, taxes. Number two, a lot of millionaires are feeling like they are being overregulated in the United States. One thing that we've noticed that's very interesting being here in Mexico, and a lot of people who've come to our relocation tours or have come here to visit have noticed this as well, is just how entrepreneurial of a country Mexico is. I was recently chatting with my neighbor about this because I was telling her about like a lot of the economic stats I had found on Mexico, and she was really interested. And she goes, you know why Mexicans start businesses so fast? Because they actually deregulated here so that people could make money. I've had friends here or colleagues here in the banking sector in Mexico, and they're like, yeah, I mean, the Mexican government lets people work. There's Americans and Canadians who've opened up businesses here because it's so much faster for them to do it here in Mexico than it would be in the US or Canada. So for example, let's take the example of a, beauty salon, because we see that a lot here in Mexico. The woman who does my hair had like the idea for her hair salon, and within a month she had her doors open and they were doing hair and nails, and it wasn't like this massive annoying regulatory, you need all these licenses, you need all these certificates, you need this inspection, you need this, you need that in order to get started. It was literally like, here's the idea, I rented the place, I got the permit, I'm open. A month later. Or we know a lot of people who've opened up restaurants in 3 months. They are up and running and going. Now compare that to what's going on in the United States, where they add a lot more regulation and estanca. So what that means is like the economy gets stuck, basically, because people aren't able to really build businesses quickly, or the businesses just aren't that profitable because there's so much money going out to regulation, or there's so much stuff that they have to deal with that then they have to increase the prices of the goods to deal with the regulation. Otherwise, they're not making a profit. So it's interesting to see that difference because, in Mexico, it's kind of the exact opposite, where they actually, according to my neighbor, did some deregulation here in order for it to be easier for people to start businesses and basically let the economy roar, which is a lot of what we're seeing here in Mexico. So that's number two, overregulation. Number three, higher quality of life. I think millionaires and non-millionaires alike can agree with this one in terms of moving abroad. Now, what's interesting, right, is a lot of people will say, well, if they're millionaires, they're not really affected by the quality of life issues in the United States. If you see them leaving, it means everybody's getting affected. That being said, yes, quality of life issues tend to disproportionately affect people who do not have money. But if people who have money are like, I'm done with this, then that is something to pay attention to as well. So what do we mean by higher quality of life in other countries? Well, number one, healthcare. Healthcare is way better in other countries than it is in the United States. That is not a secret at all. Here in Mexico, Mexico makes up 40% of the world's medical and dental tourism. Southeast Asia is also known for having really good healthcare. So a lot of people, millionaires and non-millionaires alike, just don't want to deal with a broken healthcare system that is very expensive and doesn't work in the United States. Other things like, they can now find education, high quality education for their kids anywhere in the world. They can find high quality of life anywhere in the world right now, because it used to be that in order for you to have a very high quality of life, you were basically stuck to the US, Canada, Western Europe, Australia, maybe New Zealand, right? And the gap between what you could get in those countries versus what you would find in other emerging countries was very wide. Now what's happened, thanks to globalization and a whole bunch of other things, is that other countries have caught up. And now you can find, very similar standard of living in other countries that you would in the United States or Canada or Western Europe or Australia. So you see a lot of millionaires being like, oh, okay, well, if I can find a better standard of living elsewhere and it's gonna cost me a lot less money and I reduce my tax bill and it's easier for me to do business, I'm gone, right? The opportunity is elsewhere. And there is one that I forgot to mention, and that is that a lot of people who are in businesses, and I'm not saying all these millionaires have businesses, but let's say that they do. One of the things that they're starting to look at is countries where people have more purchasing power. So if you have a business where it's mostly based in the US or Canada or Western Europe, right now you're kind of looking at the situation, you're like, wait a minute, hold on, like the purchasing power for all these people is going down. Now compare that to Mexico, where the purchasing power of Mexicans is going up. Then people who are looking for opportunities, they're looking for those kinds of trends, because they could be like, wait a minute, what if I could open lines of business in Mexico where people are actually starting to move on up and make money, and then I can take advantage of that and build my wealth and make money, as opposed to, you know, only selling to Americans who are having the opposite thing happen, where they have less purchasing power. And it looks like that trend may continue. We'll have to wait and see what happens, because everything's kind of in flux right now. So those are the reasons that 53% of American millionaires are giving as to why they are interested in leaving the United States. Like I said, no one mentioned a president. No one mentioned, you know, who's in office, because it really doesn't have anything to do with any of that at this point, and they were planning on leaving regardless. We've been saying it over and over and over again. The United States and Canada, parts of Western Europe, they're becoming more difficult to live in, generally speaking, whereas other countries are moving up and life over there is getting better. And it seems like these millionaires, in addition to that, also looking at economic opportunities and reducing their taxes, are starting to see, okay, wait a second, you know, I need to start making some moves here, and need to start making plan B, C's, D's, so on and so forth, regardless of who comes out as president in the United States. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for giving me your time today. Once again, if you are interested in relocating to Mexico, we can help you. You can book a consult below where we can get started, figure out what your specific situation is, and then your specific needs for relocating over here. If you're interested in Panama or Costa Rica, we can help you with that as well. We're also starting to build networks in Colombia. So we're adding countries to the list, but where we can help you personally and without having to send you to one of our partners is Mexico. So if you're watching this channel, chances are you like Mexico, because we rank for Mexico on this channel. We can help you get started below. If you want to try something for free, download our Moving to Mexico guide, and then you'll be added to our email list where you'll get updates and all those things. You'll be the first to know of any updates that are going on in Mexico, also in other countries, and on this channel. Don't forget to subscribe, like, hit the notification bell, share with a friend, all those things, and I will catch you guys on the next one.